Ethnic and cultural diversity is a key feature of contemporary societies. People identify with ethnic, religious, linguistic, and other categories, and an individual can belong to more than one ethnic community. Identity may be expressed in different contexts, and it may change over time. However, plurality and change may pose a challenge to the mechanisms that have been established to protect collective rights. Non-Territorial Autonomy, or NTA, is one of the methods designed to accommodate the rights of minority communities. But it gives rise to a number of key questions. Which individuals belong to a given minority? Who has the right to enjoy the benefits provided by NTA arrangements? Do individuals have the right to choose subjectively to belong to a given community, or even multiple communities? Or must objective criteria, like language skills or ancestry, be relied upon to prove a person's identity? And who should decide on these issues? We should bear in mind that minorities are often relatively small and geographically dispersed, and they are commonly at an advanced stage of linguistic and cultural assimilation. They often possess multiple, porous, blurred, and in some cases even contested identities. It is therefore impossible to draw clear-cut boundaries between communities. Data on ethnicity also need to be carefully protected, especially because of past injustices and ongoing discrimination. International standards for minority protection commonly emphasize that every person has the right to freely choose to be treated or not to be treated as a member of a minority. However, the choice is not arbitrary, since it is inseparably linked to certain objective criteria. When establishing NTA institutions, individuals are usually expected to express their affiliation by subscribing to special minority registers. Although this act is voluntary, it inevitably makes identity a mandatory, divisive, and prescriptive category. In other words, it leaves no room for individuals to experience the multifaceted, contextual, situational, and dynamic nature of their identity or identities. For that reason, it has often been assumed that NTA is inherently built on the notion of minorities as homogeneous, bounded, and stable communities, while identities may be asserted in different ways. The NTA arrangements that exist across Europe vary in several critical respects, including the extent to which they rely on individuals' self-identification and personal choices, or on potentially objective elements determined either by external public authorities or by the groups themselves. For instance, ancestry has been a common element in determining the group of Sami voters in the Nordic countries. In both Estonia and Slovenia, minorities themselves have the right to compile and administer the registers of their own voters, while in Croatia, Hungary, and Serbia, these are administered by state or municipal authorities. A generous and overly inclusive mechanism that relies entirely on individual self-declaration and other subjective criteria, with no objective elements, undoubtedly carries risks. For instance, group membership could be inflated by fraud and by people who presumably or obviously do not belong to the community. This latter phenomenon has already been widely observed and is commonly referred to as ethno-business or ethno-corruption. It has led to a number of scandals, particularly in some countries of Central and Eastern Europe. In one bizarre instance in Hungary, members of a rural football team who were enthusiastic about German football registered themselves as German candidates in the minority elections. In contrast, a more exclusionary approach that relies heavily on potentially objective criteria may prevent the participation of people with weaker ties to the community and risks undermining the group's ability to effectively represent itself and influence key decisions affecting the lives of its members. There is no one-size-fits-all solution to achieving sufficient social credibility and democratic legitimacy for NTA bodies. The existing European examples include different competencies, functions, and institutional structures. They also present different challenges due to their broader legal and political contexts. In response to their specific circumstances, ethnic groups may also follow different strategies in tackling and drawing community boundaries in their common efforts to preserve their distinct identities. To learn more about minority protection and cultural diversity management, visit our website at entan.org.